Hello and welcome to Austin Anderson's Sports Talk, where today, entirely college basketball. It is the Sweet 16 in the middle of March Madness. The NCAA tournament has been everything you expected, with upsets early and often, some that Iowa State fans and commits probably don't want to talk about. But today, we're picking all the Sweet 16 games, all the Elite 8 games, all the Final Four games, and who is going to be cutting down the nets in Indianapolis. Now, when talking about college basketball, you have to start with Kentucky. They are 36-0 and on pursuit of an undefeated, perfect 40-0 season. This weekend starts with West Virginia. Now, West Virginia plays an impressive style of defense. Bob Huggins switched it up and is really pressing the opponents. But that won't faze Kentucky as they move on to play the winner of the best matchup the Sweet 16 has to offer, Notre Dame and Wichita State. Now, Notre Dame is 12th in the country, averaging 78 points a game, but Wichita State 6th in defense, allowing just 56 per game. Earlier in the tournament, Notre Dame beat Northeastern by 3 and Butler by 4. They haven't played their best basketball yet, and if they don't step it up, the Shockers are going to knock them down. As you know, Wichita State is coming off a big upset over in-state rival Kansas, and this game's simply going to come down to the backcourt. Jerami Grant is one of the best players in America, but Ron Baker, Tequil Cotton, and Fred Van Fleet are the best backcourt in America. And for that reason, and Greg Marshall being one of the best coaches in the country, Wichita State upsets Notre Dame and heads on to the Elite 8 again to face Kentucky. Now, Wisconsin and North Carolina is going to be a good game, but Wisconsin has Frank Kaminsky and North Carolina doesn't, so they advance. And Arizona. Now, they only have 3 losses on the season, and they're a team you probably haven't watched a lot, but they are ridiculously good, and they will handle 6-seeded Xavier. This is the 4th straight Sweet 16 appearance for Tom Izzo, and as you know, when March rolls around, you don't bet against the Spartans and Tom Izzo. This year, they're led by seniors Brandon Dawson and Travis Trice. Now, this is one of the least talented teams Izzo has brought this far. But it's Tom Izzo, and in March, he doesn't lose. And they're facing off against a Big 12 Oklahoma team led by Big 12 Player of the Year, Buddy Hield. But Tom Izzo, Michigan State, are on a mission. And they knock Oklahoma off. And they knock the Big 12, the best conference in America, completely out of the tournament. NC State, Louisville. NC State has an impressive backcourt of guards that can get to the rim against Louisville. And it's unlikely Louisville will have the offensive performance and the help of the referees again against NC State. So the Wolfpack are moving on. Duke, Utah. Now, Utah has a guard, a senior guard, named DeLon Wright, who has been dominating the Pac-12 this season. But Duke is just too good. Coach Krzyzewski moves on. And then the last matchup of the Sweet 16, it's the number 2 seed Gonzaga Bulldogs against Steve Alford's UCLA Bruins. Now, the Bruins are an 11 seed. They were 20-13 this year, and absolutely have no right to be in this tournament. It is kind of a disgrace, actually, that they're even involved in this tournament, and let alone they made it to the Sweet 16. And Gonzaga, led by Kyle Wiltshire, the Kentucky transfer, well, they go down. The 11th-seeded UCLA Bruins, who absolutely don't deserve to be in this tournament, are headed to the Elite 8. So that sets up an Elite 8 matchup of Kentucky and Wichita State. Now, if you remember last year, Wichita State came into the tournament undefeated, but they ran into a buzzsaw of the Kentucky Wildcats, who got hot at just the right time. Now, I don't know if you can fast forward back to this year, but Kentucky's undefeated, and they might just be running into a buzzsaw of the hot Wichita State Shockers. Now, this game could be a thriller, and Wichita State absolutely has the potential to knock off Kentucky. But I just can't predict that they will. Kentucky's too big, too strong. Kentucky moves on, just like you predicted, the Final Four. Next in the Elite Eight, the matchup everybody wants to see, Stanley Johnson and the Arizona Wildcats against Frank Kaminsky and the Wisconsin Badgers. Now they both have identical records. Wisconsin is led by Frank Kaminsky, the National Player of the Year, most likely, and in my eyes, against a Sean Miller-led Arizona Wildcat team that is young, fast, and can play with anybody in the country. Conventional wisdom says pick Wisconsin. But that's not how I roll, as Arizona moves on to the Final Four. Michigan State, NC State, in the Elite Eight. And, kind of talked about it a little bit. Tom Izzo, I don't know what the kids are calling it these days, but he's a beast. And he advances to the Final Four. And Duke UCLA. UCLA, like we talked about, has absolutely no business being here. And finally they leave. Duke, Coach K, Jahlil Okafor, Tyus Jones, they're going to the Final Four. So Kentucky, Arizona, Duke, Michigan State. A 1 seed, a 2 seed, a 7 seed, and a 1 seed. Now, many say if anybody in the country can beat Kentucky, it's the Arizona Wildcats. But this team is destined for history, and they're going to advance to the championship game to face off against the winner of the Duke-Michigan State game. And like I've said, Izzo is a genius in March, but Mike Krzyzewski is the greatest of all time. And he advances to set up the national championship game everybody wants to see. Duke, Kentucky. It's the latest fad in basketball. It's the freshman one and done. It's the Kentucky John Calipari-led Wildcats, who are young, they're big, they're fast. People love to hate them because they're so good. Against the Duke Blue Devils, who have always been loved to be hated. From Christian Laettner's days, I'm sure you saw the 30 for 30, fire, to now. They get the best players, and they have the best coach, and they're a pretty rich school. Does somebody actually have to win? It'll be a fantastic matchup on the inside between two potential top 5 picks, Willie Cauley-Stein and Jahlil Okafor. Kentucky can be beat, but I'm not going to be the one to predict it. The Kentucky Wildcats, 40-0, national champs. Alright folks, I appreciate you tuning in, appreciate you watching. Check back in about 2 weeks for the MLB preview. Until then, follow your heart, have some fun.